Hello and welcome to the final day of the Cavallo tights sew-along. So far we have on day one, we started out by selecting our pattern options, our fabric, we talked about supplies, we talked about alterations for body shape, and then we cut out our fabric. On day two, we worked on the pockets. We attached either binding or band or hemmed our pockets and attached them to the pocket insert piece. On day three, we sewed that pocket insert piece to the main leggings panel. And on day four, we worked on the waistband and we got ready to finish up our pants. So now we're on day five and all we have left is the hem. So if you're ready to finish these up, I will just talk to you for a minute about the hem and then you'll be ready to go. So go ahead and grab your Cavallo tights that you have pretty much finished. And then you're just going to turn up the hem. If you want to, try on the pants at this point and assess where they, fit and how they fit and they hit on your body where you want them to hit. Green style tends to draw for a pretty tall, long inseam. So if you try them on and you need to chop off a bit, that's okay. But either way, you're gonna go ahead and fold them up once you get them to the length that you want. Make sure that you leave enough to turn up a seam allowance, okay? I typically like to, no matter kind of what the pattern says, I tend to like to hem my pants at about 5/8 of an inch. I just find that that amount goes through my cover stitch machine really well. It's easy for me to keep straight without having to, press it or something like that. So I'm going to do that. And I am going to do a reverse cover stitch on my hem. Now, if you are using a standard sewing machine and you're not using a cover stitch machine to hem, then I would recommend just using a zigzag stitch. This is something that, your foot is going to go through. It might, if you're like me in the morning and you're tired and you're kind of stepping into your pants, sometimes you step on them wrong. So you really want this to be an area where the hem is stretchy. Now at the same time, you don't want it to stretch out. So, you could use some steam-a-seam, some stretchy seam-a-seam, or some knit stay tape to kind of prevent it from stretching out. I find that's especially important on lighter weight fabrics when you're just using a standard sewing machine. A walking foot, I talked about that at the beginning, but a walking foot will also really help with that. So get your leggings the way, the length you want, and then go ahead and turn up that hem. Use one of those assists if you're going to use one of those products to kind of help you with your hem, and go ahead and sew that, and then we'll be all done with our leggings. Okay, so I've got my pants leg down at my cover stitch, and I'm doing a reverse cover stitch, which means that I've turned it up and I'm sewing with my needles on the inside of the pant leg. So a lot of people ask about cover stitch machines and whether you need a free arm. And I can tell you I've hardly ever used the free arm on my serger. Don't miss it at all on my cover stitch machine. I am lining up my needles so that they're going right along, maybe like a millimeter or two below my leftmost needles, a millimeter or two below that raw edge. And then my hem is lined up with the edge of this metal piece on my cover stitch machine. And that just helps me keep everything even. I don't pre-press my hems on athletic fabrics. So I just go all the way around, and then when I get back to the beginning, I'm making sure that I'm lining things up correctly. I go over it a little bit, and then I just end my cover stitch. And I did a separate video tutorial on how to do this. But there we are, completed hem. So I'm really happy with the distance between my hem and the edge of the fabric. If you want yours to be a deeper hem, you would just want to make sure you can fold that up more and adjust your pattern pieces if needed. But this distance just kind of lets me, that 5/8 of an inch or so, just lets me easily control the width of my hem without having to press. So I'm going to do this on the other leg. And you can see I slow down a little bit when I'm about to go over the bulky part of the seam. And sometimes I'll even apply a little tiny bit of a tug behind. Yesterday I did a bonus video on how to cope with skip stitches. So if you need that, make sure you check that out. And I also have a video on how to end your stitch. I'm just going to do it quickly there. I don't know how this aqua thread got in there. I think it must have been just snuck right in. Okay, so now both of my hems are completed, and I'm really happy with how my pants have turned out. Okay friends, thank you so much for joining me for the Cavallo Tights Sew Along. All of these videos will remain on my blog and on my YouTube channel, and you can always find them in the Fabric Fairy group by searching the hashtag CavalloSAL. Thank you for joining me. Please post pictures of your finished leggings, and if you're finishing these after the fact, please feel free to tag me, email me, ask me any questions. I'm always happy to answer. Thank you so much to our sponsors, Green Style Creations and the Fabric Fairy, for sponsoring this event and for letting me sew along with you. Have a great day and happy sewing.